BTN Sports, this is Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
All right, Coach, how we doing? How we feeling after the late night on the West Coast?
Well, rested up, I know that much, but you go out there and play a very good team and withstand some stuff. We didn't play perfect by any means, but our guys continued to respond in all phases and came out victorious in a tough game. And regardless of what time we got back to Bozeman, it was great to enjoy that victory.
Yeah, we just missed the sunrise as we got back, but how did that kind of impact your guys' coaches' schedule on that Sunday? I know that's a big prep day for you guys, so did that impact that at all?
Well, we started just a little bit later, but you still got to get to work in because we are going to start with the players at 7 a.m. on Monday morning. So I thought the coaches, whatever rest they got, they were back to work, and we got some good work, not only just completing kind of the evaluation of that Sac State game, but then looking forward to Idaho.
We'll look forward to Idaho here in a little bit. It's going to be back-to-back road games against top 10 teams in the country. But you mentioned that wave of things early in this game. I mean, there was a lot going on. Derek Snell did not play in this game. Daniel Lekepa going down and injured. There were a few other injuries as well. But let's start with Derek Snell. When did you guys find out he wasn't going to be able to go in this game?
Well, he re-aggravated injury during the week on Wednesday. Thought there was a good chance that he could play. Went out and warmed up, and it just didn't take. Yeah, we knew, basically as we were warming up, so, an hour or so before the game. And I think a guy like Ryan Largan was ready, knowing that there was a chance as we practiced on Thursday that Derek might not play. And, that Ryan really stepped up with that opportunity.
Now, tell us a little bit more about how complicated that position Derek is playing right now. In that fullback position, how pivotal is that for your run game?
It's very important. It might seem simplistic sometimes when you think about a fullback. We move him around quite a bit, so he's lining up in a lot of different places. So you got to know more formations and sets. Then it's really the angles that you have to play with for our different run schemes are quite different. And then it's one thing if the defense just is where it's supposed to be and all that, but the defense moves. Some of his buddies might miss a block and he's got to clean it up or whatever. So, it's a challenging position, a position you need reps at, and that's why it was impressive that Ryan was able to come in and, we didn't maybe do as much with Ryan as we would have done with Derek, but Ryan still came in and did an admirable job.
Yeah, certainly got that offense going a little bit, but, early in that game, it looked like the offense was still trying to find its footing, and, Sacramento State drove down the field, and really that first kind of quarter or so, it felt like it was just all up in the air. What was the emotions like on the sideline as you got into that start of that second quarter?
Yeah, we had moved the ball on offense. We missed a field goal in there. I know they had a long drive in the middle of our two drives. And in some ways kind of wore us down that particular drive on defense. And I think anytime you move the ball offensively, you don't come up with the points. There's still something gained from that. It's not a 3-and-out. And I think defensively, I think we knew we could find our footing at the same time. So, going in that second quarter, I don't think anybody was panicking. Then, of course, we come up with a big, pick six to tie it up, and that really swung the momentum in our favor. And I think, offensively, we really moved on from there.
Yeah, what was the emotion like on the sideline? How much did that flip? It felt like that's one of the plays of the year at this point.
Yeah, it was just, I think it was 2 plays out of a punt. We were able to punt and get them inside the 10. It flips on a dime. And again, no panic, but, through the first quarter we hadn't scored. Gave them the ball back, long field, but, for John to make that play and for our defense to, recapture that momentum, it was huge at that point in time. And, I think, like I said, our offense kind of settled in from there and really continued to build off those earlier possessions.
Yeah, and John Johnson named Big Sky Defensive Player of the Week for his honors in this game. But on the offensive side, Tommy Mellott, also Offensive Player of the Week in the Big Sky. Really fun to watch him kind of get going. What'd you see from his first performance where he's a full go coming back from injury?
Yeah, I knew he would be full go. And I think it's our intention to use both guys in their own right. But how we used Tommy in this game, I thought was very well devised game plan by Coach Housewright and the offensive staff to get Tommy on the edge, to utilize his speed. So in the run game, I think he did that quite well. And then I thought he really, we didn't throw it a ton, but when we did, he was very composed. Again, led a 2-minute drive that allowed us to at least be in position to score. But was really efficient in the passing game, the play action game, and again scrambled for some first downs as well. So those unscripted plays fit in there. But I think Tommy is back, and I think it was clear to see that on Saturday night.
Yeah, it seemed like his decision making was very clean, and he had that look in his eye. You kind of talked about it last week, looking for that look in the eye of a quarterback, and he just seemed locked in, mature, and just excited in the best way Tommy can be excited.
Yeah, and it was good. I guess get that bridge performance against Cal Poly, where we were going to limit him, but we were going to get him out there and play. So come this past Saturday night, he could be full go, and we could do anything, or he could do anything we'd ask of him, and he did that. He competed like crazy, like he always does. He's a phenomenal leader, and then he's a guy that can make plays, and that all showed up and allowed us to win that game.
Now, there were a lot of plays in this game, and we're going to talk about some more of those in just a bit, but first we're going to take a time out of the Bobcat Insider. Back after this.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back to the Bobcat Insider, talking about this win at Sacramento State, and we talked a little bit about Tommy Millott and had a great game in this one, but also Shawn Chambers made some big-time plays in this game, a couple of shoestring tackles of him, otherwise he would have really broken it open, but I thought that throw to Ty McCullough, that touchdown throw, was a really impressive throw on the move, and McCullough came down with a heck of a catch.
Yeah, I think Shawn continues to make plays with his feet and then certainly with his arm. What he's been able to inject from a play-action perspective, and then on the other side, what a guy like Ty McCullough has been able to do over the last couple of weeks, just being able to stretch the field and allow our offense to expand, quite frankly. And the touchdown he scored was a play off of a couple plays from the previous game, and we can continue to do that, mix it up as far as where we're trying to get those guys downfield, and obviously be able to have those long strikes.
That wide receiver room has been evolving all year long, and it's going to evolve again this week with Taco Dollar returning, which is very exciting. Chance to get back there, return some punts. But tell us a little bit about what he's going to bring and what this rehab process was like for him.
Yeah, I think rehab process first and foremost. It's fairly set in stone what it's going to be, what the doctor, what the surgeon wants. But within that, it requires a guy to really go after the rehab, and Taco really did that. And Taco is a fierce competitor, and I know missing this time was not to his liking, but I think he wanted to be able to set himself up for as soon as he could be cleared, he would be cleared, and that's what's happened. So what he brings, I think is obvious in the return game based off of what he did last year. A real steady hand, but the obvious ability to make the big play as well in the punt return game in particular. And I think on offense, what we saw through spring was that he had really grown quite a bit physically, but then just his understanding and feel for what we're trying to do with that H slot receiver position. So, I think he's going to inject something on the special teams certainly, but then what he'll be able to do offensively, I think, something we haven't seen quite to this point.
Excited to see that. I do want to go back to the defensive side as well and talk about Miles Jackson. Lavelle Price Jr. out in this game as the nickelback position. Obviously, Caden Dollar got hurt earlier this year, so for Miles Jackson to step up into that role was really impressive. First of all, tell me a little bit about what that nickel position needs to do in your defense and how complicated it is to play.
Well, a little bit of everything. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife within our defense. You got to be a guy that can go out and cover, and that's a skill set that not everybody has. Miles being a corner at the same time allows him to have that skill behind him. You certainly got to be able to diagnose formations and run schemes because you're in the run fit quite a lot, and you got to be able to tackle the football at the same time. And I think Lavelle, really was able to do that quite effectively through our first several games. And Miles came in and really filled his shoes well. Not a perfect performance by Miles, but I thought he really competed. His biggest play of the game is knocking that ball up in the air so Ryland can come down with that key interception. So really appreciate Miles stepping up, switching positions, a position he played a little bit from time to time, but stepping up and really allowing us to continue to move forward as a defense.
Finally, you guys were able to close this game out on the ground. That offensive line was getting the pushes. Julius Davis had the hurdle and all the other big plays, but that was a really impressive performance, over 200 yards on the ground in the second half. How did you guys get that ground game going, and how was that the closer of this game?
Well, a lot of games, it takes a while to establish that run game, to wear a defense down. There's a physical component, a willingness that it's all about. It's all the weights those guys lift. It's all of that, and I thought that was the key in this game. It wasn't that we came up with any different schemes as the game went along. Those schemes just worked a little bit better. In particular, handing the ball off to the running backs in the second half, where our guys were leaning on them, and we were moving them just a little bit more. And to say we broke them, I don't know, but at the tail end, that last sequence where we got the ball and scored the final touchdown, it was a pretty quick, 3-4 play little drive, and then after the onside kick, being able to get that first down to truly close it out, on our terms is the way you want it.
The fourth quarter's for the Don Joy Mafia, and that was a lot of fun to watch in this game. All right, we're going to take a break, and before we get into the matchup with Idaho this week, we've got another edition of the Players Lounge after this timeout on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back to the Bobcat Insider, it's time for another cut from the Players Lounge with Josh Perkins, Nolan Askelson, and McKade O'Reilly, along with Jesse Clark, talking about linebacker coach Bobby Daly.
Listen, y'all coach is Bobby Daly, right? Yeah. He's a former Bobcat and stuff like that. So how is he? He's pretty hard on you guys? Because he seems kind of quiet, but he's played like that. I mean, he was quiet when he was a player, but he wasn't quiet on the field. You know what I'm saying? So he has his little pops or something here and there, or just when he get mad, or I won't get nobody in trouble. Y'all
I see they look at you
like, nigga, you go. I ain't saying that.
I don't want to talk about that right now.
We're going to plead the fifth. We're going to plead the fifth. Yeah.
I see
Okay. So I was playing underneath a Bobcat legend and stuff like that. Is he said, well, back in the day, I used to be able to get that tackle. Did he Michael Jordan, you guys? You know what I'm saying?
He doesn't have to, man. Anybody you're around that knows him or play with him will tell you for him. He doesn't have to talk about himself. That's the amazing thing. And I think as a linebacker room, we got great dudes in there who really care, and we're all really hard on ourselves, and I think he knows that. And so he's not one to jump us like that. Like when we mess up, we know we messed up. We're hard on ourselves. We're already correcting ourselves, so he doesn't need to kick us in the butt. I would say we're probably one of the hardest working rooms on the team, so he doesn't really have to do all that. He's just dialed.
That's credit to him too.
Yeah, he's made us.
He brought all
like
of us in. And
how many linebackers y'all got over there?
We got 10.
10?
This year, 10,
That's a
11.
nice squad.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's kind of formulated that culture of just like, this is on you guys. Like, this is your career. Like,
yeah.
And he's right there to help us with it all the way. So
yeah. That just goes back to, at least when I got here, Grant, Troy, Cal. Like those guys did it the right way. And if he always said, like, he just points to them. It's like, hey, if you want to play, look what these guys did. Yeah. You got to work like them. You got to think like them. And that's how they were. So it's like if you don't want to get right, then you can get out of here. Like, he's not gonna waste your time, man. Like we got dudes in the room. Like if you don't want to be here, that's fine. It's not like it's not you know what I'm saying? It's like an opportunity for you to be here. Like it's a blessing for you to be here. I'm not gonna waste my time on you if you don't want to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 1,000 other people that want to be in your shoes.
Well, Coach, that was fun to see those guys kind of talk about Coach Bobby Daly and really just talk about the environment in the locker room. How do you, as a head coach, try to cultivate that player-led locker room?
Well, I think you got to empower your older guys, your experienced guys to do just that and be intentional about it. I think, for us, one of the first things that we'll do as a team turns over is, hey, the older guys become a new crew of guys essentially, and the new guys are a new crew of guys, and really talk to those older guys about, hey, here's how you need to, treat, respect those young guys coming into that room. Think about when you were a young guy. Think about a guy that really helped you out. Act like that. Maybe a guy that didn't help you out, don't act like that. I mean, it's really as simple as that. It's being intentional with. Pushing those guys into those roles, but then they have to be intentional. They have to be, an open book. They have to be able to be willing to share information with their fellow teammates, young, old alike, and really be, and sometimes the first person that a young guy maybe goes to for the answers. A position coach is certainly involved, and I our position coaches need to empower our players just the same. But it's really about that. It's about ownership. It's about being part of something bigger than yourself, and position battles are going to occur, but that should never separate a position group in particular from helping one another out, coaching them up, and really, leading them along.
Yeah, you could certainly see it too when Nolan Askelson was just listing all the linebackers who were ahead of him, and that kind of helped him kind of be what he is now. But all right, we're going to take another break though, and when we get back, we're getting into this matchup with Idaho as the Bobcats make the trip out to Moscow. We're talking about that next on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
All right, back one final time on the Bobcat Insider as we get set for the Bobcats heading out to take on Idaho. Back-to-back games against top 10 opponents on the road. First of all, I mean, I feel like, are the guys relishing this opportunity to play some of the best teams around the country on the road like this?
Yeah, I think we got a group of competitors, and you know, when you're made that way, and that's who you are, you want to play the best. You want to measure yourself against the best, and we had an opportunity to do that last week out of Sacramento, and that's going to be the same for us this week at Idaho. You know, and they're a really good team, and I think our guys understand that. There's a lot of respect for what they've been able to do the last couple of years, and you know, now it's time to go out there and show what we can do.
Now, this Idaho team has a lot of weapons on the offensive side, but also in their last game against Montana, you know, they gave up 6 sacks. Tell me a little bit about what they're doing on the offensive line and how that unit plays.
Well, I think the one thing you look at, a lot of playmakers certainly outside, and a pretty young, youthful offensive line at the same time. You know, so they've had to rebuild that offensive line and honestly the defensive line as well from what we would have seen a couple years ago when they came over here in 21. So young but athletic, maybe not as big weight-wise as some of the other groups that we've seen, but that athleticism piece is there. They do throw it quite a bit. I think that, you know, when you throw it more, you're putting yourself in position to be pressured a little bit more. You know, so we got to get that pressure on them. We got to make McCoy uncomfortable as much as we can and cover the, you know, all their threats as much as we can at the same time.
Yeah, Hayden Hatton, an All-American, made a couple of big touchdown catches at the end of that game against Montana 2 weeks ago. What are some of the keys to success against Hayden Hatton?
Well, you got to keep him bottled up. I think he's a really good route runner. He creates space. He's a bigger body guy. He can, you know, really go up and get the ball. So all kinds of catches, you know, in his arsenal, I guess. And you know, he creates enough space where McCoy can give him the ball on time as well. So, you know, contest the ball. You know, try to be as physical as we can with him. You know, and if he does happen to catch it, we got to get him down on the ground.
On the defensive side, what kind of scheme are they running, and what are some of their strengths on that side of the ball?
It's a 4-down scheme. You know, they play a lot of zone. They play some man in the coverage side of things. You know, I think play a lot of guys up front. They're a very active, hard-working group. You know, you look at their linebackers and their safeties, a group that flies the ball, that tackles real well, and they're allowed to because I think they got good corners that can cover out on the outside. So sound. They've played really good defense by and large to this point, and you know, we're going to have to. You know, we're going to have to stay ahead of the chains. We're going to really have to execute against this team because they're not going to give us anything.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It should be a great atmosphere over there, too. That dome should be getting pretty loud this weekend.
Yeah, a place that I haven't been. None of our players really have. I think Bobby coached over there, played for the Cats. Obviously, he's the one that has some experience. But, yeah, it'll be an adverse environment, one that we got to go and really function well and be focused and give it our best effort.
All right, Cats trying to close out October with a win against another top 10 opponent against Idaho this weekend. All right, this game kicks off at 2 o'clock on Saturday from Moscow. Till next week on the Bobcat Insider.